All right, welcome back. For those tuning in for the first time, this is Philosopher versus Philosopher, where we kind of pit these big thinkers against each other.
Right.
And see, where the sparks fly.
Yeah, yeah.
And today we've got, I think, maybe one of our most exciting matchups yet.
I think so.
Ashtavakra versus Krishna.
Two heavy hitters.
Two absolute giants of, well, I mean, they're both coming from the Hindu tradition.
Right. Hindu philosophy, yeah.
Hindu philosophy, but very different approaches.
Yeah.
Like, very different.
Hugely different.
And it's funny because they're both pointing towards liberation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're both...
Same goal.
Same goal, yeah.
Different paths.
But the paths are so different.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can imagine one guy standing there saying, you're already free, just wake up.
Right.
And the other guy's like, okay, here's your 40-step plan to, navigate life's battlefield.
Yeah. Totally.
So
and it's that contrast that makes it so fascinating.
Yeah, so how do we even begin with this? Like, what are we looking at? What are the main texts?
So we've got two core texts we're looking at. We've got for Ashtavakra, the Ashtavakra Gita.
Okay.
Which is a dialogue between the sage Ashtavakra and King Janaka.
Right.
And it's really like a master class on self-realization and non-dualism.
Okay.
And then for Krishna, we have, of course, the Bhagavad Gita, which is his guidance to the warrior Arjuna on the battlefield.
Who's having a major moral dilemma.
Big time. Yeah. Major moral dilemma.
So, I mean, talk about high stakes.
Yeah. Right. Life or death.
Life or death.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because even those settings, right?
Yeah.
You've got this kind of like one-on-one in a palace.
Right.
Pure knowledge versus like...
Yeah. A battlefield.
Yeah, in the trenches.
Messy really reflects the core difference in their philosophies.
It does.
One's about pure knowledge, and the other one's about how do we apply this
right
in the middle of the mess.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because we're also going to be looking at some YouTube videos by Rishi Rathore.
Right.
Who's done some really cool comparisons of these two texts. And, I mean, just that right there is so fascinating to me. Like... Why are these ancient texts still so relevant?
Yeah, because they're grappling with questions we're still asking today.
Right. Like, what's it all about?
Right. Who am I?
Who am I? What am I doing here?
What's my purpose?
What's my purpose?
What do I do?
How do I find peace?
How do I find peace in all of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same questions we're still asking.
Yeah.
So
all right, well, let's dive in.
Okay.
Let's start with Ashtavakra.
Okay.
Because he's known for this radical non-dualism.
Yeah.
Now, I got to be honest.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit intimidating.
A little bit.
Okay, so break it down for me. What does that even mean?
Okay, so Ashtavakra basically comes in and says, you're already free.
Okay.
But free from what?
Right, free from what?
Right. He's talking about this illusion of separation, that you are a tiny self stuck in this big world.
Yeah.
He says that's not the truth.
Okay.
The truth is you are essentially pure consciousness.
So I'm starting to see where the radical comes in.
Yeah.
He doesn't really beat around the bush.
Not at all.
Does he?
He's very direct.
Very direct.
The Ashtavakra Gita is full of these, like, almost shocking statements.
Really?
Yeah, he'll just say things like, you are not the body, not the mind.
Okay.
You are consciousness itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see how that would be appealing to some people.
Yeah.
It's pure...
Right.
Simple.
No rituals.
No rituals.
No dogma. It's all about self-inquiry.
Right. Like, look inward.
Look inward and realize who you really are.
Yeah.
Right.
But I can also imagine that being really daunting.
Yeah, for sure. Especially for someone who's new to philosophy.
Yeah.
Or spirituality, it can feel very abstract and demanding.
Yeah.
You really have to be willing to question everything you think you know.
Right.
About yourself and the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ashtavakra kind of throws down this...
Right. He's like, boom.
Yeah, he's like...
You're already free? Wake up.
Yeah.
But how do you live that?
How do you live that? Yeah. I mean, that's where I feel like Krishna comes in, right?
Yes, exactly. He's got a very different approach.
He's like, okay, here's a bunch of different paths.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of different tools. Yeah.
It's like a buffet.
He's a buffet.
Like, find what works for you.
Yeah.
But it's not even just like a buffet.
Right.
Because it's also like a guidebook.
Right. It's a practical guide for living in the world.
Yeah, like how to...
Yeah, how to deal with the mess.
How to deal with the mess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, pick and choose.
Yeah, it's like, this one's more chocolatey, this one's more vanilla.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Right. It's like, this is gonna help.
This is going to help you navigate the world.
Yes. And he's got that whole thing about
Nishkama karma, right?
Yeah, Nishkama karma.
Act without attachment to results.
You're telling me I should work my butt off and not care about getting a promotion.
Right.
Yeah. How do you apply that in your life?
Yeah, it is a tough one. I mean, and I don't claim to have mastered it or anything, but the idea is that, like, you do your best in each moment without being so attached to what you're going to get out of it.
Right.
It's about letting go of control.
Oh, yeah. That's a hard one.
It is. And that's why I think the Bhagavad Gita is so valuable. It's like, it's not just these abstract concepts. It's like, how do you actually live this stuff?
Yeah.
And the messy reality of being human.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. But there's also this whole other thing, too, about, like, surrendering to the divine will, right? Like, how does that fit into all this?
So that's another key aspect of Krishna's teaching, right? He's saying, trust in something bigger than yourself, let go of your ego's need to control everything.
Right.
But at the same time, he's not advocating for passivity.
Right.
You still have to act.
Yeah.
You still have to make choices. You still have to fulfill your duty.
Well, how do I know what the divine will is?
Right. Yeah.
It seems a bit vague to me.
It's a subtle concept.
Yeah.
And there's no one-size-fits-all answer. I think for some people it's about connecting to a specific deity or a higher power. For others, it's more about aligning with the natural flow of life.
Okay.
Trusting in the wisdom of the universe.
So it's more about an attitude than like a set of rules.
Exactly. And that's why it can be so challenging. It requires a lot of inner work, a willingness to let go of our preconceived notions and really open ourselves to something larger than ourselves.
Fair.
All right, so you've got Ashtavakra saying, you're already free, wake up.
Right.
And Krishna saying, okay, here's how to navigate the world with grace and wisdom,
Yeah.
They're both talking about freedom.
They are.
But their definitions are pretty different.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a really insightful observation.
Yeah.
Ashtavakra's freedom is about realizing your true nature.
Right.
As pure consciousness.
That's like, stop identifying with all the stuff that isn't really you.
Right.
And then you'll experience true freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Krishna's freedom is more about acting in the world with detachment.
Okay.
Fulfilling your duty without getting caught up in the results. It's like finding that sweet spot between engagement and non-attachment, like freedom within the flow of life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how both approaches aim for this sense of peace and liberation.
They do.
But they take such different routes to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to that key difference that Rishi Rathore pointed out.
Oh, yeah. In his videos, surrender versus witnessing.
Okay.
Krishna emphasizes surrender.
Right.
Letting go of the ego and its need to control everything. Ashtavakra, on the other hand, emphasizes becoming the witness, observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment.
So surrender is like letting go of the reins?
Right.
And witnessing is like becoming the observer of the whole show.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna encourages Arjuna to surrender to the divine will.
Okay.
Let go of his personal desires and anxieties and trust in a higher power.
Well, that makes me feel kind of passive.
Sure.
Like, how do you know when to act and when to surrender?
It's a delicate balance, and it takes practice to discern.
Yep.
It's not about becoming a doormat or giving up on your responsibilities.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that there are forces at play that are bigger than our individual ego.
Okay. So it's not about giving up. It's about choosing what to focus your energy on.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where discernment comes in. We need to use our wisdom to figure out when to push forward and when to let go, when to act and when to surrender.
And what about witnessing? What does that actually look like in practice?
Think about the last time you were really stressed out, and instead of getting swept up in all those anxious thoughts, what if you could just observe them, like clouds passing by?
Right.
That's what Ashtavakra is getting at.
Yeah.
He's encouraging us to cultivate a detached awareness.
Okay.
To recognize that we are not our thoughts, but the consciousness that observes them.
So it's like creating space between yourself and your mental chatter.
Precisely.
Okay.
And in that space of pure awareness, there's a profound sense of freedom from the tyranny of the mind.
Okay, so I can see how both approaches could be incredibly liberating. It's like two different doors leading to the same room.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the beauty of exploring different philosophical perspectives, right? It's not about finding the one right answer. It's about finding the path that resonates most deeply with your own being.
Yeah. Okay, so far we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
We talked about Ashtavakara's radical non-dualism. We talked about Krishna's more practical approach to liberation. We've talked about surrender. We've talked about witnessing.
Yeah.
What else is there to explore here?
Yeah, we've been really diving deep into these philosophies.
Yeah. And it's amazing how these ancient teachings
I know.
still feel so relevant today.
They do.
So where do we go from here? Like, how do we connect all these ideas back to our everyday lives?
Well, one of the most practical takeaways from Ashtavakra, I think, is the power of self-inquiry.
Okay.
He's encouraging us to question our assumptions.
Right.
To look beyond the surface level of things and really investigate what we believe to be true.
It's like he's saying, don't just take my word for it.
Right.
Look for yourself.
Exactly.
Question everything.
Yeah, even your own sense of self.
Yeah. And that self-reflection, man, that's
so crucial.
Crucial. Especially like today.
Yeah, with all the information overload.
Yeah, it's like, how do you filter all that out?
You need that discernment.
You need that inner compass.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so what about Krishna then?
So with Krishna, his emphasis on Nishkama karma,
Okay.
acting without attachment to results.
Right.
I think that's such a powerful tool for dealing with stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
Think about how much pressure we put on ourselves.
Oh, constantly.
To achieve, to succeed, to control the outcome of everything.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
So Krishna's like, do your best, but let go of the need to control everything.
Easier said than done, though.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
But even just becoming aware of that tendency to cling to outcomes, that can be a huge shift.
Yeah.
It allows us to act with more freedom, more clarity, and less stress.
I'm starting to see how Ashtavakra and Krishna actually complement each other.
They do.
It's like this two-pronged approach. Inner peace through self-inquiry.
And outer effectiveness. Through detached action.
Yeah.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about integrating both.
Right.
Into a holistic approach to life.
So we can use Ashtavakara's non-dualistic perspective.
Right.
To cultivate a sense of inner freedom. And then we can use Krishna's more practical teachings to actually
to navigate the world.
Yeah.
With skill and wisdom.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Anything else that kind of jumps out at you as we sort of wrap up this deep dive?
There's one more parallel between Ashtavakra and Krishna that I find really fascinating.
Okay.
And that is that they both emphasize the importance of transcending duality.
Okay, remind me what we mean by duality in this context.
Right. So it's about moving beyond that tendency to see everything in terms of opposites. Good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure.
Right.
Ashtavakra says that this sense of separation is an illusion. Krishna encourages us to see beyond the opposites.
Okay.
And act from a place of unity.
So it's about recognizing that things aren't always black and white.
Right.
There's more nuance.
Yeah, there's more interconnectedness than we realize.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And when we can see beyond that duality,
right,
we tap into a deeper level of awareness, a place of wholeness and interconnectedness.
It's like realizing that we're all part of the same fabric of existence.
Yeah.
We're not these separate, isolated individuals.
And that realization can be profoundly liberating.
Yeah.
It allows us to move through the world with more compassion, more understanding, and a deeper sense of belonging.
This has been such an insightful exploration.
It has.
We've covered so much ground, you know, from Ashtavakara's radical non-dualism to Krishna's practical guidance, surrender, witnessing, transcending duality.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to go sit with all this for a while.
Yeah, let it sink in.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of these teachings. They stay with you. They invite you to continue exploring and questioning and deepening your understanding.
Before we go, I gotta ask, if you could have a conversation with either Ashtavakra or Krishna, what one question would you ask?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I would ask Krishna how to cultivate that unwavering inner peace, even in the midst of chaos and uncertainty.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think I'd ask Ashtavakra how to fully embody that sense of non-duality.
Ooh.
Not just intellectually understand it, but actually live it.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm sure our listeners have their own burning inquiries.
I'm sure they do.
For these wise sages.
So let us know. What question would you ask Ashtavakra or Krishna?
Yeah, leave a comment below.
Leave a comment below, and let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah.
And also, hey, if you're enjoying these deep dives into philosophy...
Most of you watch our videos.
Most of you watch, but you haven't subscribed yet.
What are you waiting for?
Hit that subscribe button.
Join the community.
Join the community. All right, well, thanks for joining us on this journey.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Into the hearts of two incredible philosophies.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.